Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. Welcome to WowBiz, Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now.
Now is the time to be bold. And you're being bold right now as you watch WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. We're here with Bruce Arant, obviously, and a new guest, Patrick Leahy. Can't wait to introduce you to both of them. But I want to enforce to you, if you're wondering what to do with your market, what to do with your product lineup and so on, you feel like things are kind of shaky out there, you're uncertain about whether you should invest in marketing or salesmanship and so on, I want you to know now is your opportunity, now is your time. And your example, by the way, take a close look at Kohler faucets and plumbing. You've seen them already on TV and on streaming channels and so on. They've actually introduced a brand new product, Patrick and Bruce, that is in the power category. It's basically a very slick power generator. Looks like it's mobile. You can move it around the house and every single thing can be powered with that. Why would Kohler go in that direction, Bruce and Patrick? What do you think about that?
I would guess that they're just trying to obviously think outside of the box, but their box has always been the home.
Yeah. And
I think they're staying within that category of home products or whatever. I know they've been in the plumbing business forever, but
yes.
But what they're probably thinking, what other service or product can we help people within their home?
Yeah.
And power is, a whole nother aspect.
Yeah, and inexpensive.
Right.
Absolutely.
Power to make your toilets flush.
Yeah.
No,
what do you think,
really.
Patrick?
Well, if you look at what we're living in right now, what our society's going through is we've got natural disasters are happening more often.
Yeah.
We've got energy prices going up. They're looking for options of how can people be more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
What can we do to broaden our market, but also take care of our clients, our core clients' needs?
Yeah.
Figure out, best companies in the world find out what are our clients' needs before they do.
Yeah, and that should be an obvious thing for all business executives, but surprisingly we get into this rigid thing and say, this is what we do, we don't do that, this is what we create, and it's just going to have to be okay. And at this point in time, I think we all need to be a little bit more creative and rethink kind of our identity, what we're really capable of, and I think you nailed it with the psychology, really the cultural psychology of worrying about what happens. And of course, it was introduced at the same time that all the tornadoes were causing a tremendous
hurricanes
fuss
and everything
down in Florida.
You mentioned Rethink. There's a great book out right now, came out a few years ago, called Rethink Innovation by Carla Johnson. And if you go through that book, it kind of lays out how to create a culture within your company where everyone's coming up with ideas and it's encouraged.
Yeah.
And there's certain rules like don't be critical of the idea at first.
Yes, right.
But also throw them all out there. We'll worry about cost at some point. They all have to meet certain cost restrictions. But one of the other concepts when you get to the final 6 is think about the best companies in the world. Think about how will somebody replace us? So you basically compete with yourself. So you come up with that new innovation before your competitor does.
Patrick, I can't tell you how wise that is, and I think we'll have to zig off our conversation here. I just heard about something along those lines. I'll share this with you. Thinking about creativity in businesses. Obviously, creativity was important here. And there's a tendency with executives, senior level people to say, you come up with a new idea, it's not that good of an idea, or well, work on that one.
It's a seed. They're never good ideas to start with.
Exactly. But what this guy's, there was a deep, big, long scientific research thing over a number of years and so on. They tracked all these companies and people and he said, what the key is quantity, not quality. Don't worry prematurely about whether it's a good idea or not. The companies that survive with innovation, they are constantly kicking out new ideas.
Something has to stick eventually.
Right, and they're not the least bit worried about something, well, that didn't work. He said about 50% of the time, you'll hit the sweet spot. It'll be okay. The product will be okay. 25% of the time, it's genius. It'll actually transform the industry. And another 25% of the time, it's flaky and it'll, no big deal, right?
Right.
But always emphasize quantity over quality when you're saying we need to innovate.
That first step. Yep.
Isn't
absolutely.
that something? That's fascinating. So I guess we want to tell all of our viewers out there, especially business owners and management, now is the time to think out of the box and kind of think about some of these principles that have been recently shared with you. Now, Patrick Leahy is with us from Emergent Architecture. Let's talk a little bit about the North Omaha and South Omaha projects. I'm very fortunate. Nebraska got involved with Emergent recently, and we submitted a proposal that I felt was pretty robust, mostly because of your assistance and your help. Tell us a little bit now about how you felt about the North Omaha project coming from Nebraska and the alliance with Emergent.
Well, I thought it was great when you and Lee and Lynn, you came and said, let's get coffee, and you started to lay out your vision.
Yeah.
And this idea of it's not just a place where people can go and incubate new businesses.
Yeah.
It's more than that. Sure, there's spaces to do that, but you're creating a center with a culture of learning, not just with each other, but bringing in education experts, consultants like yourself and others to help invest in, teach, and grow these young business people that then in turn can grow their young businesses.
Yes.
And you're locating it right on that line between the historic North Omaha that have often had ideas started, but not all of them have flourished.
Right.
And downtown, right there near the big Creighton University Education Institution, which is a genius place to locate,
right.
Because of the synergy there. And it's also nearby. You've got the hot shops and the area of all these kind of new businesses developing on the kind of corporate for-profit areas too.
Yes.
It's an untapped area. There's a lot of room for
a lot of
room for innovation, and you're innovation, that model of an incubator building being more than just space.
Yes.
It's a program of teaching and learning and helping. What makes those places exciting isn't just the faculty, it's those businesses helping each other.
It's the soft stuff as well as the hard stuff.
And
the values as well as the brick and mortar.
And it's the whole development of that Millwork Commons area, kind of by hot shops and all of that. I know there's going to be a lot of new businesses going in that are going to be really dynamic, and it's going to be sort of like the new old market down there. So that whole, like I say, the synergy of having that type of mindset in that part of the city is going to really help.
Oh yeah, I could see that becoming the new technology center, the new entrepreneur center for Omaha.
Indeed it is.
Because all great businesses that sustained and became great,
yeah,
they all started as small companies.
Yeah, they really do. I keep thinking to myself about Friday afternoons. I think that when somebody says, well, we're interested in renting some space, we want to get involved and get over here and get some of our, maybe set up a branch or whatever it is, and we'll get that all going, and we'll write out the contract, so to speak, the rental agreement, and then I'll say, now how many people will be attending the training sessions that we do around here on Friday afternoons? Right? And they'll say, you mean there's free training? I mean, how much does that cost extra? That's free because it's part of this environment, So, and I want to thank you, Patrick, with Emergent. We'll talk about your architectural firm here briefly, but when we had the concept, we had the idea, which you've explained, but we struggled a little bit with the real estate and kind of identifying areas where it could be put together and so on. I just want to thank you for that, because that was an exponential boost. It just wasn't our expertise, and it was really helpful that you were able to kind of hone in on that.
That's what I do every day is try to take a challenge that a client has, whether it be a business or a education institution or a healthcare institution, is what are their biggest challenges? Right. And how can we meet that?
Yeah.
And what's the magnitude of that problem?
Yeah.
And when I saw yours, the idea was all there, but you were looking at spaces. You want to identify more than one piece of land.
Right.
And so I can quickly do that. You guys said, oh no, we don't have time for that. I did it while we were on the phone,
right.
Because it's what I do all the time. And then
it was so nice to have somebody with that skill set. That's all.
And then to come up with a quick design, so you have a concept. We don't have to worry about everything figured out, but something has a visual perspective of what this building could be. Something that has that urban natural concept you've probably talked about before on this show.
Yes.
Incorporate all those materials, as well as how you site that building so it has some outdoor space incorporated into the indoor space. So there's some indoor-outdoor connections. So, and then, So doing a floor plan, and then also coming up with that, everything's going to need numbers in the end because you're making an ask for money. So put together a budget for the construction, for the furniture, and all the other professional fees and surveys and construction services you have to put in that. So you have a dollar amount and contingency.
That was just so invaluable, Patrick. It was really, really helpful. Okay, you know, we were 70% there, 60%, but Patrick stepped in with his Operation Emergent, which is fairly new here in the Omaha area. Why don't we take 2 seconds and tell us a little bit more about Emergent Architecture? You're a principal of the firm at this point, so maybe you can explain it to us briefly.
Emergent Architecture is a firm that is in Nebraska and Iowa. We have 2 offices in Iowa, Cedar Falls and Cedar Rapids, and now Omaha. Growing, do a lot of pre-K through 12, everything you can think of in that elementary education.
Nice.
Some higher ed, healthcare. I'm going to grow their healthcare expertise and market share.
And there's money in that area. That's
well,
for sure.
There's always a need. People. We haven't figured out how to keep people 100% healthy all the time yet.
No, that's for sure.
We still work in that. And then we do some general commercial and mixed use and some, including some multifamily, and we're also doing some senior living.
What does the word emergent mean now as you've gotten into your role? How do you define it when somebody says, oh, we think Nebraska is a pretty cool word, but briefly in 30 seconds, what does emergent mean?
Emergent, think of it as in 2 ways. One is any idea, when it's a new ideas coming out, it emerges. It's emergent.
Yeah.
And then ideas for buildings and processes come out, and they come to fruition through construction.
Yes.
But it's also, as a company, we're a new company.
Yeah.
You know, that 5 years ago, about going on 6, emerged. You know, out of just people from other companies. Sure. And then we acquired a firm, the Novak Design Group out of Cedar Rapids. And they're a 36-year-old company. So now we're 36 years old.
Right. You know how to leverage that, don't you?
Yeah. And we got, and we grew our portfolio of work.
Bruce, you know, didn't the word emergent, isn't that a cool word for a company?
It because it has energy to it. There's a sense of movement and growth, and
Yeah, I think customers and employees, they want to be with a company that looks like they're going somewhere.
Right.
Well, if your name's emergent, you're always going somewhere.
Right.
You're never mature.
Right.
You're always a fresh thinker, on the fringe, and coming up with new ideas. And I increasingly think that as the internet commoditizes everything, okay, and everything's the same, and it's all about prices and who's the cheapest and so on and so forth. I think it's the emergent companies that people are looking to, saying, find something fresh, something new. Let's partner up with somebody that's got a new idea. And I think that's a major trend. Well, thank you, Bruce Arant and Patrick Leahy, so much for helping us get through the first half of this show. We're going to do a little promotional spot for a completely different company right now, and we'll be right back with you in just a couple seconds, okay?
Okay.
All right. WowBiz Nebraska is brought to you by a company with 2 names, DataBurst and SenseMaker. Same product, same technology, a fascinating product that is the right product for these times when there's a lot of debate and polarization and I don't agree and this and that. This is a piece of technology, and we all know what a focus group is. You pull together a small group of people, citizens or urban people, mayors and so on, chamber people, and they've got to sit down together frequently, usually, and make some decisions and arrive at some kind of a consensus. If that consensus doesn't occur naturally, there can be conflict in the group, there can be issues where they can go on and on for years and never get resolved. So we'll call it DataBurst, and we'll talk about DataBurst right now as it's used in the business sector of our society. Essentially, does require a facilitator, by the way. And so you get people together, a bunch of business people, and you say, what do you guys think about this or that? Now, equip every single person in the room with a handheld device. Let's just stop and think about that for a second. So when the facilitator asks, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you think it is that we increase our budget with healthcare in the local community? 1, 7, 8, 3, I disagree, And all this input is instantly aggregated and graphed on the screen right there in the room, right? So all of a sudden, everybody realizes, oh my gosh, the average feedback was 7.5 and I only hit 3. I guess I didn't really realize that I was not in agreement with all you guys in this room. Well, given that, maybe we should say, what would be the best way to budget? Should it be a small group or a specialized committee, or it should be the city council? Go ahead and press your button again. Press the. Well, okay. Right? And this is going on and on. And as a result of that, you get a lot done fast, right? And people come to a consensus because they see graphically the group is swinging this direction or that direction. So, it makes it easier for you to acknowledge and say, I guess that would be a better idea, because the group is moving you in one direction or another. Now think of all the decisions that could be made, the judgments, and how rapidly it could be done, and how much fun it is, frankly, to be part of a group where everybody is using these handheld devices to answer on a continuum. It's never yes and no anymore. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think? Boom, 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 boom. And there it is. Now that, in the civic environment, is called a sense-making machine or a sense-maker group. So we can talk about community affairs, we can talk about potholes, we can talk about politics. Any of those things, and people can be brought together. This is the final thought about Data Burst and SenseMaker. People can be brought together again in a coherent, concise way, have a great time, enjoy, share opinions, and walk away with a piece of paper that has all the graphics. They know where their input, it fits in. Nobody ever dominates a group. Have you ever been to a focus group or some kind of a meeting where somebody stands up and they're a little bit loud and they're an extrovert and they're dominating the group and the group just kind of moves in one direction because of that? That will never happen again in a Data Burst meeting. Just think about that for a second. No more conflict, no more issues, straight ahead, forward, successful. All right? Think of doing your community plan, your business strategic plan. Do all of this utilizing Data Burst or SenseMaker. Contact us right here at WowBiz Nebraska. We'll tell you more about it if you're inclined. Thank you so much. Remember, Data Burst or SenseMaker for the civic sector of our society. This is a way to go forward without debate, without conflict, and that is worth a lot of money. That's right. All right. Thank you so much. We're right back here at WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderaker right here with Patrick Leahy and Bruce Arant. Great guys, very on top of the trends that are shaping our community and shaping the state of Nebraska. We are, by the way, the only economic development TV show in the state of Nebraska. So this show can be seen in Alliance, it can be seen in Beatrice, Crete, obviously in Fremont and in Omaha. So think of us as a statewide entity for a minute and think in broader terms when you're watching WowBiz Nebraska, if that's possible for you. Now we're going to talk about the single defining trend right now in the world of business. If you ask any business owner on the street what's happening, they will tell you, this is the craziest time in my entire career. Employees come, they go. Managers come and they go. We don't know what direction we're going. Some of them are in the office, some of them are at home sleeping in bed. I don't know what's happening, and I need a little bit of advice, and you're going to get it right now here on WowBiz Nebraska. Patrick Leahy went to a seminar recently. Why don't you share some of the high points of that seminar about employee development and what's going on out there?
Yeah, it was at Nebraska Hospital Association last Thursday, and the keynote, he was talking about workforce, and not just the challenges of finding staffing, but the solutions. And it was an hour long, and there's a second hour diving into the solutions.
Yeah.
So it was well done, but some of the key things he brought up was we have the baby boomer generation that's starting to retire.
Yeah.
And everybody thought that great recession, it was a few of them did retire early and a few other people were unhappy with their job.
Sure.
A little more than normal, but Generation X is not as big, but the millennials are.
Yeah.
They're a little bigger even, and they're coming into the workforce now.
Right.
So that's we're lucky. The United States is the only place that has a millennial generation that big. The rest of the world doesn't. So one of the first things he brought up was the obvious one, opening up immigration. Those that want to work, come in, pay taxes, add to the society, encourage that. He says, but whenever they talk to the policymakers, they say, I'll tell you outside when we're done.
Yeah.
There's not support for it. People think they're going to take their job. I think once businesses
Is that a
realize,
misunderstanding?
It's a misunderstanding because I think most businesses will realize, whether it's a small business, the restaurant, the cafe that can't have enough staff, they have to close their businesses.
Yeah, yeah.
Or the farmers that need more staff on the fields. There's a lot of jobs that are going unfilled, and we don't have any. We have the lowest employment we've ever had.
Now let me ask you this question. Nancy Pelosi said something when this topic was brought up, and she said it's a good thing that they're coming in. Get them out in the field so they can help the farmers, the producers, pick products and do whatever they have to do, field work.
Yeah, and there's a lot of city jobs too.
Well, that's true.
And that was one of them, but there's a political support that's.
Let me finish this. Why would somebody object to that? I heard somebody saying, I think that was a nasty thing to say, a terrible thing to say. I hated that. Why could you disagree with that or argue with that?
Well,
is what
I think there's been this whole idea of America first. Historically it's been, well, we can't have other foreign people coming in, they're going to take our jobs.
Yeah.
But
so
if you
that's
look
the
at
primary thing.
I think that's what it is.
Job.
And they worried they're going to lose their job.
Okay,
So and I think that's hyped up, and I don't think I don't think it happens as much as they say it will. Right now he gave the numbers of in the healthcare industry, and 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 nurses, physicians, and other staff are foreign born.
Okay. I didn't know that percentage.
Yeah, so it's already a pretty sizable number.
And
by the way,
I'm sorry. We also have the phenomenon that we didn't used to have, where young people, I sound like an old man saying this, but those youngsters don't necessarily want to do a lot of the jobs.
A
that
lot
are
of
out
this
there.
work. That's absolutely true.
That didn't used to be the case, and so
In Nebraska, by the way, the fastest growing sector of entrepreneurs, immigrants.
Yeah.
Immigrants. Yeah. So anyway, let's get back to your comment. Sorry to interrupt.
And he says there's some political support that needs to be garnered to get that one to work. But do it quickly. It's a small window, because not just Mexico, but all the other foreign countries, they need their people worse than we do. They're going to do everything they can to keep them. So if you're going to do it, don't wait too long.
That's a new idea. I had not thought of that. I thought this.
Yeah. Then the next
this exodus was going to go on forever.
Then the next thing was less than ideal folks. People with autism or other learning disabilities, people that were in prison, people that were in the military, people that got out of work and came back, holes in their resume, things like that. But don't do all of them, all 9 of them. Do one and get good at it, so you can bring people up what they're capable of.
Sure.
But the last one he brought up was the most aha moment. He says job descriptions in the early 1990s, like 92. Job descriptions got big, and they were making them very restrictive.
Very tight.
Human Resources Department didn't want go through 3,000 people for 1 or 2 jobs.
Sure.
So they made them very restrictive. Degrees, certifications, all this knowledge, all these skills, all this software. Well, they've got them so restrictive. Now they get 4 applicants. They only interview 1 that made most of those requirements, and they're not the right cultural fit. They're not the right personality. Go back and go through that. And he said, just review them all. What are the minimum requirements you need for somebody that gets along with other people?
Sure.
Works collaboratively, innovative, good in front of clients if need be, and has the general skills for the job. But don't have 100 different requirements.
Yeah.
And open it up. And then you can get to the interview and interview for the personality fit, the cultural fit.
Another aspect of this is these employees that are so dissatisfied and they skip and they're unhappy with their job and they switch, and they're still unhappy with their job and they switch, and they're still unhappy with their job, or they hang out at home for a while and finally get pushed into a new job. What's going on there? What can we do with or for those people? Or do we ignore them and kick them to the side and stop talking about them?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, you think there should be something that management could do just to make the work environment more fulfilling to people.
Yeah.
And that would, I guess, be the only thing I can think of, that you just try to make it somehow more than just stamping out widgets. I mean, you've got to give them a little bit more to.
The great coach of the Lakers, Los Angeles Lakers, back in the 80s and 90s, Pat Riley was his name, and he addressed this particular issue. He said, I think that people want to be part of something. Mm-hmm. And if it's something themselves. Something big would be nice, that earns our commitment to it. But I'm going to go even further with you. I'm going to tell our audience members, we're going to talk about this down the road, perhaps speak about it again. In fact, the entire audience membership is calling me right now, as a matter of fact. But I think the employees are looking for a deeper, really a personal meaning. It could border, in fact, on spiritual, frankly. They're looking for a meaning in their life. They wanted work to define them, you know. Well, I do this, you know, when you say, well, what do you do, you know? And so it's kind of a superficial thing, but at least it allows us to define ourselves to the rest of the world. Right. But now we're not particularly proud of the company that we work for. It may not be any big deal. And so we are at a gap where there's something very empty about many, I'm talking about 40, 50% of our younger population beneath 40s are looking for some way to define who they are and to have some fundamental idea about how do I live my life. This is what it's all about. The job itself is secondary to that.
It probably starts with a conversation with one-on-one with manager, leader, with staff, and find out, do you know where you want to go? Do you know what you want to do? Yeah. What's your challenges?
But what if they say, no, I have no clue. I have no clue where I want to go.
Well, then let's try some things.
Yeah.
Let's see what you enjoy doing most. We're try in more than one area.
A very wise man once told me, he said, here's what you want to do. Find a job that you would get out of bed and work for free. Right. Find that.
Never work a day in
and never, and never stop seeking that. And when you find that, you're home free, baby. Right. They just stick with it and get better and better at that.
And if you have somebody that loves the job, loves the people, loves the culture, then you've got something. Because they love being there. Yes. And then you can find out, do they want more training? Do they need more salary? Because they have more mouths to feed. Do they want continuing education? Do they want career path development? Some won't. Some do.
They do want that career development, by the way.
And do they have the capacity to do it? And then some want ownership.
30 seconds here.
Some want ownership in an ESOP, an employee stock ownership plan. It's great.
Why does everybody do that? Hy-Vee does that, seems to do it very successfully.
I think they need to read the book. There's a great book on it.
I think so too.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for watching WowBiz Nebraska. This has been a particularly good show with Bruce Arant and Patrick Leahy from Emergent. Thank you for watching us, and we look forward to talking to you again. We're going to get deeply into the employee revolution and talk with you more about creating a culture. So stick with us. We'll see you at the next show right here on WowBiz Nebraska.